The views, information, and opinions expressed during the following program are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent the views of Access Communications, its representatives, or its employees.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Weyburn City Council for Monday, November 10th. We're a couple of seconds behind. Sorry about that. We got big stuff to talk about tonight, and we've already talked about some of it right behind me, as you just seen. So we do have a big agenda. We've also are happy to welcome our Member of Parliament, Stephen Bonk, is with us tonight, so we're excited to do that. And then the moment many of us have been waiting for quite a while is our aquatic study will be presented tonight. And then we've got some other business to take care of, things like our building report, our water treatment plant report coming tonight. So we got lots of work to do. With that, I would ask straight out of the gate for a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to make a motion that the minutes of the regular council meeting and strategic planning and priorities meeting held on October 27th, 2025 be approved.
Your Worship, I would second that motion.
Great, thank you. Any commentary on those? Any changes we need to make from anybody? None? Then I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you very much. So the agenda is before us. It's posted. Any additions to the agenda, Council? Administration?
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. There's no additions tonight.
No additions tonight. Thank you very much. All right, public hearings and notices, we have none tonight. So next up is our delegations, proclamations, and petitions. So our delegation tonight is our Member of Parliament, Stephen Bonk. And Mr. Bonk, I think for this part, do you want to have him use our new podium? Yeah. I think, is he the first one to use the podium, Richard? No, it got used for budget last time, didn't it? Well, you didn't get to be first with that, but thanks for joining us. So I think what the best thing to do, because the folks at home want to watch and hear from you, have you introduce yourself to us and your background and just talk about the things that your party's working on.
Sure. Well, I feel like giving a sermon, to be honest, with this podium here. But no, I just want to thank you so much for the invitation to be here at your meeting today. I think it's the best way for us to have more direct communication so that we can find out what problems you have or what concerns you have. And if there's any way I can help, I'm more than willing to do so. My name is Stephen Bonk. I am the newly elected MP for Souris Moose Mountain. And I was elected on April 28th, and it's been a real pleasure and honor to serve in that role since that time. And I'm looking forward to your questions today.
Thanks so much for that. So as you're going to hear about tonight, probably the biggest thing for the city of Weyburn, or one of our biggest issues, of course, is infrastructure. Infrastructure meaning everything from pipes in the ground to our indoor swimming pool. So we're going to ask you to advocate for us in Ottawa for some help from our federal government on that. And I think you're going to also hear us talk about just the struggle with trying to pay for things like that, like every community probably in Canada, that infrastructure is a problem. I don't know if I should have phrased it that way, but it's certainly an issue that we're faced with. So I think I would ask, some questions of you around that. And then also one of the things that we sort of neglect sometimes to talk about that I know we have is that just that work around business attraction and investment attraction to our area. So let's start with that. Is there some trends you see happening that might benefit Weyburn and area, some investment you see in the area that we might be able to capitalize? Anything like that on the horizon?
So maybe I'll just go back first on the infrastructure,
please,
what you had mentioned. So like we mentioned previously, with infrastructure funding, the budget was tabled last Monday, so a week ago today. Or no, it's Tuesday, sorry. It'll be a week ago tomorrow. And we're still going through the budget and it hasn't been approved. So I'm not really able to give specifics on certain programs or funding streams that might be applicable for Weyburn. We will find out a lot more in the next week or so when we really take a deep dive in the budget and it's finalized, and we can find out what streams might be more beneficial to, for example, your swimming pool and sewer and water and infrastructure needs, roads, for example. I did have some conversations with, and like I had mentioned earlier, with the Secretary of State for Sport. And he had mentioned that there was some money available, a new funding stream available for hockey rinks, for soccer pitches, for sports centers, and with the onus on it being to improve the health of Canadians. And there will be money available on this stream, and I think that might be a very good place for Weyburn to take a look at. And I've committed to having my office reach out to you once we know the specifics and how we can get the applications to you in an orderly manner, so you're not on a bit of a witch hunt trying to find who you need to talk to, because Ottawa can be like that a little bit. On the investment attraction side, I think Weyburn already has done a very good job of that. I think of, for example, my friend Mark Cooper's company, you know, Prairie Green Energy, that's coming here to Weyburn. Like, that was a big win for you. Weyburn has a lot of you're punching above your weight when you look at the industries that you have here in a town of this size. So what you've done so far is working. I would just suggest keep doing that. Just keep trying to attract talking to these companies, trying to attract investment here, because you know, as you know, like, they drive the economy, but I think you're doing a great job. And if there's any way that I can help in my capacity, by all means, reach out.
Great, and we will do that. Thanks for that. So before I open it up for questions, I do want to reiterate our gratitude for the advocacy you've done with the Federal Agriculture Minister on the use of strychnine for the gopher problem. That was a big move on your part, and we appreciate that. Although certainly we don't use that in the city of Weyburn. Yeah. The gophers don't respect the city boundaries, and they come in and tear up our parks. So we do appreciate your advocacy on that. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's a big win for Western Canada, in fact, because according to crop insurance, about $40 million of damage is attributed to gopher damages every year, and that's money that's paid out by Saskatchewan Crop Insurance, which is cost shared by taxpayers. So it is a win for Weyburn, for your residents.
Absolutely. Good work. Thank you. All right, I would open it up to council if there's a couple of questions for Mr. Bonk. Yeah. Thanks, Councillor Bador.
Mr. Bonk, just to reiterate, the city of Weyburn is in the same spot as many other municipalities, maybe on a different trajectory, but as the budget gets passed next week, or if it gets passed next week, that's something we would really look forward to your help with not only our pool, but with just general infrastructure, because the road forward is really tough for us. And it's not only tough for us, it's tough for all our neighbors and friends around here. And it is something that we want you to scream from the top of the mountains that this is a problem for us.
Yeah, no, for sure. And one thing I can commit to further than that is, and I don't think it's happened for a long time, but I would like to make a report after we have the budget and we've gone through it, and it's been finalized, of what it means for this riding. So what it means for each larger town like Weyburn or Estevan or even Moosomin, Assiniboia, compared to the smaller villages and hamlets in the riding, as well as the RMs. Because like you have to dig pretty deep in some of these documents, and they word them quite ambiguously, so it takes a bit of research to find out what is available for you and what you would qualify for. So our office is looking at making a report that we will for sure forward to your office here.
Thank you very much. That'd be super helpful. Yeah. Anybody else questions for Mr. Bonk? Yeah, Councillor Jenke.
Thank you again for being here, Mr. Bonk. I'm going to be intentionally vague with this question because I know it's a broad topic, but can you tell us what the government, or maybe more specifically your opposition, is doing to try and help our local trade-based economies in a less than friendly trade environment?
That is a very broad question. Yeah. So I represent the Conservative Party, and as a Conservative, I'm not really someone who appreciates direct government intervention into things. I don't think it's good when a government engineers society, by any means. I believe that the government should create the conditions where private industry thrives. And when private industry is thriving, then you will have no trouble with the need for trades. And I hope the problem is that we won't have enough trades to fulfill the need. That would be a better problem than to have than what we have now. But that's a very broad answer to a broad question, but I think that we have to have a thriving economy on all fronts, and that'll solve that problem.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Anybody else? Well, thank you for coming, and I hope we make this at the very least an annual event, a pilgrimage to Weyburn for you, to City Council. I would look very forward to that report.
Yes.
On how the federal budget is going to impact a community like ours specifically, and also look forward to you working with city administration to help us find some potential venues, avenues, I should say, for support from the federal government. So appreciate that very much. If there's any questions you have of us, I suppose we'd be willing to take those. Councillor Sadlowski loves answering questions on the fly. So.
Yeah, no, well, just once again, thank you, Your Worship, for the invitation. I really appreciate getting to meet everyone and to hear your concerns directly, because we don't know what we don't know, right? So if I learn your concerns firsthand, I have a much better idea how we can approach them in the future. And yeah, I'll get that report to you, and if there's any way I can help at all, please feel free to reach out.
Will do. Thanks so much for coming.
Yeah,
Appreciate
my pleasure.
it very much.
Yeah.
Great. Councillor Sadlowski, I have to lay off Councillor Haig's for the foreseeable future, so I'm just going to kind of, pinball across.
Felt a little targeted lately between
Yeah.
this and the air band.
Yeah, I mean, I told you
Okay,
I have to redirect. We'll keep going. Reports of standing committees, as always, I give this opportunity in the agenda for any councillors that are sitting on committees they'd like to make a report on. Councillor Sadlowski?
I don't really have an update, but we are hosting our first youth council meeting on Thursday. So next council meeting, I should be able to update that. We're really looking forward to it.
That's excellent. Thanks for that. Anybody else? No, hearing none, we'll move on. The consent agenda, we get 2 items on there. The building report for October, water treatment plant for October. If there a motion to get the consent agenda, please.
Your Worship, I would move that the items on the consent agenda be accepted as presented.
Great. And a seconder?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Thank you. Anything there that we need to pull off? Anything that anybody wants to look into? Hearing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Move on now to motions. Is there a motion for accounts payable?
Your Worship, I'll make the motion that the purchases from October 1st, 2025 to October 31st, 2025 in the amount of $5,168,018.18 be approved for payment. These purchases include quick pays of $419,413.77, accounts payable $4,185,133.87, direct withdrawals of $560,558.18, and debit card transactions of $2,192.36.
Thank you. Seconder?
Your Worship, I will second that motion.
Thanks. Questions or commentary on that? Hearing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. This is one of my favorite annual ones. This is the water treatment plant chemical supply tender. If I could get a motion first to introduce this. Oh, do you want to speak to it first? I noticed the Director of Engineering wasn't here.
No, we'll have the Director of Leisure Services. He has volunteered his time to do this very,
thank you.
Very awesome presentation.
All right.
It's my warm-up for later. So the City of Weyburn is committed to providing safe and sufficient supply of drinking water to the residents. Weyburn's water comes from Nickel Lake to the water treatment plant, where it goes through a series of treatments, filtration system, and disinfection process before being sent to the distribution system. The chemicals required for the treatment and disinfection processes used by the Weyburn water treatment plant are supplied and delivered by various licensed chemical suppliers. On October 7th, 2025, the City of Weyburn 2026 water treatment chemical supply tender was posted on the city's online bidding portals, Bids and Tenders, and SAS Tenders. Chemicals obtained through the competitive bid process will be utilized in water treatment processes in 2026 under annual contracts. Quotations were received by the City of Weyburn by October 28th, 2025, 4 p.m. Central Standard. A total of 7 tenders were received. The results of the qualifying tenders are in the chart that's follows here. All bids submitted were verified to meet the specifications and requirements laid out in the tender. In each instance, the lowest bid was awarded where specifications were met, except for aluminum sulfate solution. Due to storage capacity limitations and fluctuating dosage, it was uncertain if the city could submit orders early enough to accommodate the lowest bid lead time for this critical chemical. The award of aluminum sulfate solution was recommended to the lowest bid that had a reasonable lead time for delivery. A recommendation from administration is that the following 2026 chemical supply be awarded as follows. Chemtrade Chemicals Canada Limited be awarded the supply of liquid aluminum sulfate at 44 cents per kilogram. Rita Canada Limited be awarded the supply of ammonia sulfate, 88 cents a kilogram. Chlorine gas, $1.99 a kilogram. Flopam, or FO4190 equivalent, at $4.44 per kilogram. Potassium permanganate at $6.67 per kilogram, and sodium hypochlorite at $1.44 per liter. Brentag Canada be awarded the supply of sodium hydroxide solution, or caustic soda, at 64 cents per kilogram. And Clearwater Equipment Technologies be awarded the supply of hydrosulfuracilic acid at 7.1 cents per kilogram.
Very good. Thank you very much, Director Henning, for that. Now I will entertain a motion.
Your Worship, I'll move that the following 2026 water treatment plant chemical supply be awarded as presented.
Oh,
You fell for that again.
yeah.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any questions on this? It is an annual thing that we do, and we need to do it, and we've gotten pretty efficient at the motion. Okay. There's nothing else, then we'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Next up is the Canada Housing Infrastructure Fund, or the SHIF as it's called, and we will look to the City Manager for his report, please.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. So the Canadian Infrastructure Fund, which the SHIF is a $6 billion fund that aims to accelerate new construction, rehabilitation, expansion of drinking water, wastewater, stormwater, and solid waste infrastructure, directly supporting the creation of new housing supply and improved densification. These projects will be a cost share by the federal and provincial governments and municipalities, and administered through the Ministry of Government Relations on behalf of the Housing Infrastructure and Communities Canada. For the provincial territorial stream, the fall 2025 intake, the expanded eligibility criteria exist for projects in rural, so populations that are less than 30,000 or less, northern and Indigenous communities that may have sufficient housing growth related projects. In these cases, eligible projects could preserve existing capacity or increase reliability and access to drinking water, wastewater, stormwater, and solid waste systems for current and or future populations. The maximum federal cost contribution for municipalities with populations $30,000 or 30,000 or less is up to 40% of the total eligible project expenditures. So the City of Weyburn falls within the provincial territorial stream, expanded eligibility criteria as a rural community. Therefore, the city's planned capital project for the landfill expansion is an eligible project because it's an increase the existing capacity and lifespan of our landfill and the growing regional communities it serves. In order to move with the SHIF provincial territorial stream fall 2025 intake, the Government of Saskatchewan requires resolution stating City Council agrees to meet legislative standards, to meet the terms and conditions of the SHIF program, to conduct a public open tendering process, to manage the construction of the project, to fund the municipal share of the project, to fund ongoing operation and maintenance costs, to attest that all federal requirements will be met for the project, and to follow any mitigation measures as required by the Federal Impact Assessment Act and the Environmental Assessment Act of Saskatchewan. So the recommendation from the Council is that City Council provide the Government of Saskatchewan with the required resolution for the SHIFT provincial territorial fall 2025 intake for the landfill expansion project as described. So a little background to Council. This is included in our 2026 budget, and it's a $3.2 million project for our landfill.
Yep. Thanks, City Manager. We get a motion?
Your Worship, I'll move that the Weyburn City Council provide Government of Saskatchewan's required resolution for the SHIF Provincial to Territorial Stream Fall 2025 intake for the landfill expansion project as described.
Thank you.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Thank you. All right, so questions for administration on this? Yep, Councillor Sedlowski.
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to point out, for those who may not know, is that if you have had a chance to look at the budget, you'll see there are some large line items, including the landfill and our water treatment plant. So seeing grants like this come through is very beneficial for us, and we hope that we continue to see some of this, so.
Thanks, that's well said. Right. No, go ahead. Yeah.
I guess just to build on that, that some of these upgrades are requirements from other levels of government. So that is where the pressure comes on to us, and we have asked for extensions and seen where we can to put off to some extent and spread that money out. But yeah, seeing this is, would be helpful, requirements from them, and then a little bit of money to help out to complete these projects.
That's right. Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Bador?
Just wondering when would we know if we got the money or not?
Yeah, so usually when intakes like this happen, they will hear something usually later on the winter into usually earlier on into, say, February will be when you hear something. So we're hoping between the months of December to February. Once we do know, we can go ahead and do all of our tendering for that project. It's really important for this project because of the scale of the project to have the tendering done earlier on in the year because there's a limited number of people who can actually do this kind of work and to get that out there really early. So we're hoping that we hear at the latest by February.
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Worship. City Manager Warren, will the project go ahead whether or not we get this funding?
Yeah, so we actually have included external loan, a part of our 2026 budget. This is a requirement, as Councillor Sedlowski has just mentioned, by the provincial government. We are required to do this work. It's a benefit if we can get a provincial and federal streamed fund, especially when the funding could be upwards of 40 plus 30, so like 70% of the total costs, which would be really beneficial for us. If we do not receive the funding, we still have to move forward with this project. This is a required project. We are running a regional landfill, and there is work that has to happen within that space this year.
Good question, thank you. Anybody else? All right, I guess we'll call the question then. All in favor? That is carried. Thanks so much. All right, this is kind of the moment I think we've all been waiting for. So we've got the next two agenda items are going to speak to our indoor pool. First up, our Director of Leisure Services is going to walk us through the aquatic study that was completed and going to present some of the high-level options that through our public consultation, through using RC strategies to do research on best practices and what other communities have done with pools. He's going to present some high-level options to us. Then following that, the Director of Finance is going to present to us some options for a potential recreation levy that might help us service the debt that we are undoubtedly going to have to take on if and when we build another indoor pool. So there will be robust discussion, no doubt. But to the Director of Leisure Services, I would turn it over, and everybody pour themselves a hot coffee because this is a long one.
Yes, thanks, Your Worship. Some background. The Harry Church Indoor Pool, also known as the Weyburn Leisure Centre, opened in November of 1990. The facility was unable to open for the 24-25 winter season due to significant degradation of the pool basin occurring below the tiled surface. The pool basin, the hot tub, the pool deck concrete structures have all deteriorated 10 to 15 years prior to their expected life cycle. Facility assessments conducted in 2024 indicated that there were issues developing, however, did not state an end of life, and provided a recommendation to have further investigations done within the 25 budget cycle. The infiltration of water, chlorine, and other chemicals into the concrete has negatively affected the rebar and has resulted in significant delamination and cracking. This reduced the structural integrity of the concrete and resulted in major water loss of an estimated 32,000 liters per day. following a ground penetrating radar scan, or GPR, and engineering assessment, it has been determined that there is no ability to repair the structure and complete demolition and replacement is required. During the 2024 facility assessment, it was also noted that the mechanical and filtration systems, along with the pool piping and components, are at the end or nearing the end of their life cycle and in need of replacement within the next 1 to 5 years. The city went to RFP to engage a consultant who specializes in leisure facilities like indoor pools. The successful proponent was RC Strategies. RC Strategies is a consulting company focused on the community service sector coast to coast across Canada. RC Strategies began the process with a public online survey and user group survey sessions. Based on that feedback, they identified what components of a leisure centre are important to the community members. Taking into consideration the various research and engagement inputs generated through this planning process, the following facility program has been developed. This program includes a list of spaces and desired activities that would best meet community needs for indoor aquatics in the city of Weyburn and surrounding area. Some of the spaces in this assessment would be a 25-meter, 6-lane program tank, a leisure therapeutic tank with some features, a water slide, a hot tub, steam room, a deck with a social space, a deck for educational space, deck storage was identified along with wet storage space, change facilities, gender specific and universal, lifeguard office and room, space for a desk, storage locker, change room, showers, first aid, space for a desk, storage, treatment facility, mechanical, the pool mechanical system is important, and a viewing area, an area of the main pool with temporary seating with a view of the full program tank. This is important to the clients. So with that, the considerations that we went through, with the different concepts come different programming opportunities which will impact the overall utilization of the facility. Maintaining a water slide but placing it out of the viewer area was important, and viewing areas were identified as an area of concern. Increasing the leisure aspect of the pool with features such as a large hot tub, cold plunge, sauna, steam room, etc., help address the therapeutic and inclusive needs of the community. The larger change rooms and all concepts ensure that we are offering a safe, inclusive, and accessible environment for all. Maintaining the zero-entry pool is important to ensure we can offer programming to individuals with mobility challenges. Offering 2 tanks, one for competition and one for leisure, in one facility allows for additional swimming lessons and recreational programming while competitive training is happening. This addresses the pool availability the survey mentions. There are additional operational costs and challenges with having 2 tanks. Additional lifeguards are required, and there are a limited number of lifeguards in our local area. There is additional HVAC load, janitorial efforts, and more chemicals needed, which all increase the operational burden. There's a lot of importance to indoor leisure centers. There's health, social and cultural, and economic. There's further breakdown on the screen there. So some of the discussion points we have: to fully understand the impacts and costs associated with meeting the proposed facility program, either in whole or in part, 4 concepts were prepared. These options include: Number 1, achieving as much of the facility program as possible without expanding the envelope or footprint of the existing facility. Option 2, achieving as much of the facility program as possible with a single tank in an entirely new space. Option 3, achieving the full facility program through a combination of developing new space and renovating space within the envelope and footprint of the existing facility. And the 4th option is achieving the full facility program through the development of entirely new space. It's important to note that in choosing one of these options, the final product is likely to change to some degree as more detailed design and site planning occurs. It's important to note that option 1 does not include a competitive pool, while the other 3 options do. As with all estimates, these costs are not a guarantee, as there are too many variables during the preliminary design to be certain of costs. The estimated costs identified below should only be considered for high-level capital budget planning. A plus minus 30 to 50% should be considered on all costs shown. Option 1, the renovation within the existing facility envelope. Your estimated cost of $24,671,000. This would be maintained inside the current building envelope. It's a leisure pool with zero entry, and it's a non-competitive tank. Option 2, new facility construction with 1 tank. The estimated cost for this is $30 million. This would include the demolition of the existing building and construction of a new facility. The sunroom would remain, but converted to a pavilion. Competitive 25-meter pool with zero entry. Option 3, renovation and expansion of the existing facility envelope. An estimated cost of just over $32 million. This would maintain a portion of the current building envelope with a new addition. There'd be 2 separate pool basins, a leisure pool with zero entry and a competitive 25-meter pool with a diving board. Option 4, new facility construction with 2 tanks. Estimated cost $45,800,000. Demolition of the existing building and construction of a new facility. The sunroom would remain, again converted to a pavilion. 2 separate pool basins, a leisure pool with zero entry, and a competitive pool with a diving board. All 4 options have increased changing room sizes with gender-neutral and universal options. Amenities such as a hot tub, sauna, steam room, cold plunge, and water slide have all been included in each option. Increased viewing areas with temporary seating are also included in each of these options. Where facility demolition is proposed, there is a potential for renovating the interior of the facility to utilize the space for a different purpose. However, costs associated with renovating to repurpose the facility have not yet been determined and would require further study. Demolition costs of $1.1 million are included in options 2 and 4. Operational cost forecasts. In addition to the capital construction, the city will also incur ongoing operational investment requirements associated with the annual operation of the facility. As the city operated the indoor pool in the past, some of these ongoing impacts are already accounted for in city budgets. However, there will be an operational cost impact of a new or a renovated facility. This annual investment requirement is net of revenues generated through utilization of the facility and should also be considered plus or minus 30% at this point in the planning process. The table on the summary is there. I will just highlight the net operations. You will see that the increased cost of the increased expenses there are giving you a different net as we go across options 1 to 4. And we also have a life cycle reserve budget factored in for all 4 options. I'll explain that in a second. It's important to note that these estimates should be considered 2025 values and have been derived from 2023 actual observed revenues and expenses at our Weyburn Leisure Centre. They assume the renovated and new pool facility is operated in the same seasonal way as the existing facility did while in operation. Other key assumptions include an inflation estimate of 4% per year between 23 and 25. Revenues and utilization for most aspects of the operation are expected to increase, with larger increases in options 3 and 4 that have 2 tanks. Facility operating expenses have been extrapolated on a square foot basis with some reductions in energy consumption and maintenance due to having a modernized facility. Life cycle budgeting, future funds for major repairs and renovations is estimated at 2.1% of capital per year. As can be seen, the 4 concepts range between an increased investment requirement of $0 to $770,000 per year and arrive at a cost recovery levels between 28.7% to 33% compared to the 2023 observed rate of 26.1%. Facility investment rates are highest for option 4 at 71.3% and are lowest for options 3 and 1 at 67.0 and 67.1 respectively. On the financial funding side, municipal debt financing, the City of Weyburn would need to increase our current debt limit. It's currently at $20 million. To do this, the city would need to apply for the government of Saskatchewan through the Local Government Committee, the LGC, to change the debt limit. The city would then request debt financing through the Municipal Financing Corporation, the MFC, or other financial institutions. Some options to pay off the debt: raise project funding, leisure facility levy. $150 to $200 per property would equate to $800,000 to $1 million per year. Increase the fees for users. Fundraising through the naming rights, facility or programming spaces, and engage philanthropic service consultants. Grants. There's federal and provincial grant programs. The Community Building Fund, the CCBF, this federal program administered by the provincial government, provides predictable long-term funding to municipalities on a per capita basis for eligible infrastructure projects, including recreation facilities. Municipalities can pool and bank this funding for larger capital projects such as new pool. The CCBF is currently being utilized by the city for the Infrastructure Revitalization Program. Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, otherwise known as the ICIP. This cost-shared program between the federal and provincial governments includes a community, culture, and recreation infrastructure stream. It provides funding to build or materially enhance recreational facilities. Municipalities can receive a significant portion of project costs through this program. There has been a commitment made to the federal government that the province of Saskatchewan will contribute 1/3 of the cost toward a municipal infrastructure program, contingent on the federal government establishing a partnership to secure the remaining funding, which would include contributions from municipalities. There's also a Green Municipal Fund, the GMF, delivered by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM. This fund supports innovative projects that offer environmental, economic, and social benefits. While primarily focused on green initiatives, funding for feasibility studies or energy-efficient components of a new pool complex may be available through grants and loans. The next steps. The city councillors have the information needed to make informed decisions about potential investment in indoor aquatics in the city. Should the decision be made to move forward with any of the 4 options presented, the next steps would include the following: the city commitment in principle to invest in one of the options outlined, or a variant of. Funding commitment to engage a design consultant at around 10% of the capital cost. Selection of a project delivery model. Conduct detailed design and achieve better capital cost assurance, depending on the project delivery model chosen. Funding commitment to construct a renovated or new facility. Facility construction, operational business planning, and capital fundraising. And then lastly, the facility opening and ongoing operations. If a decision is made to move forward in the short term, the project could materialize in 24 to 36 months. Expected grand opening would be within 48 months of starting the process. I recommend the council provides administration with direction on what option to proceed with.
Thank you, Director Henning. I would recommend, you might as well leave your microphone on. I just ask the city clerk and I guess everybody else around the table right now, generally speaking, what I would do is ask for a motion to get this on the floor. But it is my expectation that if we do that, we're going to end up trying to change motions and amend motions. Is it at all appropriate, and I don't know who might know the answer to this, for us to engage in the discussion prior to making a motion? Is that it? I know I should have thought of this before 20 minutes ago. I feel like it's okay.
Yeah, I think we can do that. You just got to make some sort of motion to get talking about it.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Could I get a motion to help me out, Councillor Janke? I know you're the guy that's going to do it anyways.
Your Worship, I move that we open discussions on which of the 4 options we would like to select.
Thank you very much.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Morissette. Any questions on that motion? Hearing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor?
Maybe we should wait for we accomplish nothing if we
okay.
call the question right now.
Sorry, right.
I think the question on the table really is, which one do we like best to put forth as a motion immediately after this?
Yep. Okay. So do you want to open the question now? I would say yes.
Sure. Director Hannian, if I may, thank you for all your hard work on this. This is comprehensive and answered the vast majority of my questions before I got to quiz you with them, to my great disappointment. But I guess the one thing that jumps out at me here is that options 1 and 3 both involve reusing the existing building. Given that the only thing we know for sure about that building without breaking it open and seeing what's inside is that the basin of the existing pool has collapsed due to potentially water inside or underneath the pool. What confidence do we have that the structure is sound enough to use as part of a new build in those two options? And before you try to answer that, I respect how difficult a question that is to answer, because you really aren't going to know for sure until you get in there with a shovel. But
Right, that's fair, Councillor Janke. In our assessment, to address building envelope and structural issues, there is about $1 million that was designated in the 2024 facility assessment project. That covers some building envelope, electrical, mechanical, and structural stuff. That takes out any of the pool equipment and filtration systems. So, I mean, immediately right now we know the roof needs work done on it. That is in our immediate plans. As for the exterior of the building, there is some effervescence showing through, so some brick cleaning work and sealing we know has to be done and would be part of that money. Electrical needs to be upgraded, that sort of thing. As far as the actual structure of the exterior of the building, there's no immediate signs of damage, but like you said yourself, we don't know until starting to do renovations inside that the demolition of the basin may uncover some other stuff that we don't want to see.
So I'm going to paraphrase here just to make sure I understand. We have some amount of confidence and are going to take every possible measure to ensure that if we were to go that route, we will find out as quickly as possible and mitigate as much as can be done. Is that correct?
That would be correct, yep.
Thanks, Councillor Janke. Who's next? Councillor Corrigan. I should probably move closer, sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a number of questions there, but where to start? Yeah, I hold some of the same concerns as far as the structure. I mean, obviously, I would have liked to seen one of the options to be using the existing structure with the 25-meter competition pool in it as opposed to just a leisure pool. And what would the cost be similar then, or would like a combination between option 1 and option 2 then?
So one of the things we fall into now is we're doing construction under different building codes than were previously in place. So we do have to enlarge in certain other areas of the facility. So that takes a larger footprint for the bathrooms and change rooms and stuff. Also on the survey reports, viewership of the pool was a big concern. So if we try to have a place for people to view their kids in the pool, it takes away from some of the other options.
So in essence, a 25-meter competition pool was not feasible within the existing structure to accommodate the other aspects?
Correct.
Okay. My next question is regarding the financial obligations regarding this particular project, which would be in the potentially $20 to $30 million range. Now, we know we have to fund that somehow, obviously through loans or whatever else. And this might be more directed to Finance Director. What sort of time frame would be looking at to pay this off then? Can you give us an estimate on that?
And I think that shows up in the next item.
I get that,
yeah,
but
no,
it ties into some of the other questions
100%.
that I have,
Yep.
and I'd like to have that answered before we move forward.
Yeah.
That would kind of depend, I guess, on how many years you wanted to take a loan out over, or I guess how much the loan is. Like, I would say probably 30 years.
30 years. That concerns me a bit, knowing full well that within the next 5 to 10 years, we will have the expense of a rink also, of an arena. And would we be actually able to do that at that time? Now, my understanding is that a new arena will cost us in the neighborhood of $40 million right today. And I'll be honest, I'm looking at an indoor pool as whether it's a want or a need. And I'm leaning more towards the concept of a want, whereas an arena is more of a need for our community because it's a bigger economic driver. Now, I would like to look at the concept of a joint facility, of an arena with a pool attached to it, and see what the cost and how that would fit into the financial aspect of things. I know that kind of throws a wrench into where we are right now, but I'm having a hard time right now convincing myself that this sort of investment is the right thing to do at this point in time in where we are at as a city. I don't know if there was a question in that, actually, but more of a comment.
I think it's a comment,
Yeah. So that, I'll leave the floor open to
Do you
someone
want
else.
do you want administration to try to answer? I know you didn't really ask a question, but do you want some commentary from them on that?
I would, if
Welcome some
administration
commentary.
does have some.
If you have it available? And I know you weren't expecting these questions, and it's okay to say, I don't know.
No, that's totally fair. I don't have the projected cost of a pool and arena facility. Other than, I mean, you could look at.
But if we look at kind of what one would cost and the other cost, we're probably looking in that $60 to $70 million range.
Yes, I.
Potentially. I mean, that's a guess.
Matthew, you've got a really good memory. Do you remember what PA's facility cost?
Yeah, it was well over $100 million.
Yeah.
I believe for theirs.
Yeah.
And it all depends on, again, that would have to be a direction from council. Is it 2 pools? Is it 2 rinks? Like,
Right.
there's so much more that you would have to talk about. But I know, I don't have the number for Prince Albert. I know I think it was near that $100 million rink.
I mean, the other reason I bring this up is that if I could just.
No, go ahead.
If I could just continue on this train of thought, is the fact that this project is not a one year away. It's 4 to 5 years away.
From completion.
To completion.
To completion,
Yeah.
I mean, we could be in there sooner. It could be completed sooner, but there is a lot of steps, the detailed design, getting that.
And I think if we're going to ask these questions, now's the time to ask them, not in another,
Not 2 years
6,
from now,
12, 18 months down the road when we're well into one direction already. Yeah. So, thank you.
Councillor Sidlowski.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to piggyback off what Councillor Corrigan brought forward. Through campaigning over the last year and leading into the election and conversations over the last almost year, I have heard a lot of the same thing in regards to that, and I do strongly feel that we should maybe open the floor to at least entertain the idea of a larger facility, or there's been lots of talk of long-term planning and of looking at facilities in the long run. And when you look at these price tags, I know people want a pool built right away and things done, but is it worth looking into a little bit of a broader picture to see what we need and what we could put together? So I'm in agreement with Councillor Corrigan.
Okay, Councillor Haig, had you had it?
Yeah, I guess to that comment, I think the challenge, the challenge in my mind would be that we don't have the money in the bank to build this one. So we're going to borrow the money irregardless. So what you'd have to make the difference in the cost would have to be in the savings of the operation in order to fund it, to pay for it. And I mean, I don't know this, I can't prove it, but there can't be enough to make that payment go from $150 per household. I mean, if you're going to borrow $100 million, that whatever we look at, whether it's however we get the money, it's just not, it can't be feasible. I mean, we can't, there's just not enough cost savings to offset that cost. We can't get it back down to $30 million.
Who's next? Councillor Bador?
I do appreciate the sentiment of the bigger super facility, but I think we're at a precipice now where we have the information in front of us. We've seen in multiple times where things will get kicked down the road, and that adds 5 million, 10 million. And I really do appreciate that this would be a large vision, and if we had 15 years to do that window, I think we're there. But I'm hearing from the people that I talk to, the 13 months has been long enough. We need to make a decision, get a pool going, and I'm prepared to hopefully give some direction on that tonight. A few questions. The facility envelope, like I know a lot of people are say, the outside looks good. We got a few shingles rotting off and stuff like that. So with option number 3, which is the one I'm looking at myself, what do we keep from the old facility? Is it just kind of the facade of the outside just to save a little money? Because it seems like a really big jump, that 12 million to go to a new facility versus using.
At this stage, everything is conceptual, of course, right? So what the architects at the conceptual stage have done is basically removed one end wall into the green space and added on in that direction, and that was kind of the concept they pitched forward. So about 50% of the existing facility, the current facility, would remain, and then you'd have the addition onto that out into the green space there, a portion of that. So you're going to have some walls that remain, some roof structures. Of course, that's when they'll open it up and they'll see how much more they have to peel back, right? But that's the concept that was delivered, and those concepts kind of give you a high level probability of cost, and that's why they're completed that way. So the overall end final product and the rendition of that wouldn't necessarily match any of the concepts that we have seen, but they would take into consideration that the square meters that we're renovating versus the square meters of new build is still in relation to what they've designed.
Good?
Good for now.
Okay. Councillor Higgs?
As you can tell, I'm interested in the costs, obviously.
Yeah.
What's the longevity of a renovated facility versus a new build facility? And/or, I mean, obviously the length of the term of the loan has to be within reason, period. But I don't expect you to answer the loan question, but just the longevity of the facilities.
I can't speak to it 100%. I'm not an engineer in any of these facets, but whenever I've been talking to RC Strategies and the architects, the idea is if they go in to renovate and add on, they're not going to leave a degraded wall in place and build on, but you don't have 4 brand new walls either on top of that. So you do have some renovated portions along with some new builds. So anytime you do that, there is going to be a portion that's going to require maintenance sooner than the rest of the building. But
Okay.
so sorry, that doesn't give you a
Yeah, I guess I was just, if we're going with a 30-year loan, I'd like to have it at least last 30 years. But that's just the way it is.
Councillor Morissette.
Thank you, Your Worship. Rich, I asked you this earlier. Taking care of what we already have while we're trying to make a decision about the future, what is the longevity on our outdoor pool?
The outdoor pool is currently 15 years old. The pool itself is in good shape. It's had a liner replacement within the last 5 years. So the liner can be replaced on average every 10 to 15 years is how long they last. They are replaceable. All the piping and infrastructure is good. The filtration system could be upgraded. Chemical injection could be upgraded. But overall, I would say we can continue to run that with just regular routine maintenance on a lot of and some upgrades that are to be expected with any facility. So.
Sure. Can I keep going?
You sure can.
Should we move ahead with potential construction, would we still be able to operate the outdoor pool even though we're building on the same site as where the construction is?
Yes, there is ways that we can continue to operate the outdoor pool. There would be expectation that there will be temporary shower and bathroom facilities added on because they are in the indoor pool portion as we see it today. So a renovation or a demolition is going to take those away. That's going to require portable units to come in, or a renovation to the sunroom in a temporary fashion to bring those in, so there'd be some options there. But the way the facility is built, the outdoor pool filtration system and main pool pumps and boilers is in an older section of the building in the basement that wouldn't be part of the renovation or demolition, choosing what path you want to go.
Excuse me.
I have one more.
You have one more, go ahead.
I wish I had a crystal ball, and I wish I knew more about geology, but do you have a contingency plan built in, or a contingency fund built in for, hey, we've drilled down and we need 99 pilings instead of 25? Is that built into the potential cost?
99 piles versus 125, no, I can't say for certain that kind of contingency's in there. There is contingencies for the unexpected to happen based on, a rule of thumb that architects have after many, many years of going through these kind of projects. But anytime you renovate a facility, whether it's your home, your garage, or a leisure center, there's going to be unknowns. So, I mean, if choosing a path forward is in a renovation, we will work with the architects to do as much testing ahead of time as possible. So when we go for that detailed design, we would understand better what's underneath the pool.
Perfect, thank you very much.
We're not done yet. So I would throw two more things out there if I could, just in the midst of all this, just so we keep the discussion going. I think this is great discussion, and I don't think we're done. I think there's lots more to be had. Richard, if I could just ask you two questions and make one point. In terms of public consultation, make sure that I remember this correctly, which isn't often the case. When RC Strategies did the public consultation, the surveys, beyond going to the user groups, meeting face-to-face, there was also an online survey of the residents. There was over 1,000?
Over 1,000, yes.
Over 1,000. So you could say 8 or 10% of the population participated in that.
1,166 responses.
Thank you very much. Okay, so now my two questions, because I want you to be able to wrap up a couple of thoughts for us. My first, and I'll ask them both, you can just go right through them both. Some questioning in the community about the current facility, the current pool. Why can't we, so you mentioned earlier about the outdoor pool changing the liner. Yep. Some question in the community, why can't we just put a liner or something in the basin that is currently there, in the pool that is currently there, and maybe get another 10 or 15 years out of it? That's question one. And then question two, I don't know who would take this one, because we've talked a little bit, about the rink. And I assume what we're talking about is our main ice surface. Is there, and I believe there is, a long-term plan for that facility currently? And if there's some time frames. So I've asked a lot there, but I would allow you to just defer maybe to the city manager or somebody on them. But first off, why not a liner in the existing facility?
Okay, when we did the ground penetrating radar scan of the pool basin from architectural drawings, where it was built on, the concrete is supposed to be 200 millimeters thick across the whole basin. We're seeing a lot of void spaces when we start hitting about 150 mil. So that's about 2 inches of concrete that's missing in a fairly large portion of that pool. So that is where the bottom layer of rebar should be existing. So when we pass that through the structural engineer, we pass the ground penetrating radar report on, the engineer report came back saying it's just structurally not sound. So if we were to do anything in that pool, add a liner, fill it back up with water, and keep refilling it, we are, it's not structurally sound for that, and no engineer's gonna, or the engineers we engaged with wouldn't give it that stamp of approval.
So it's not necessarily, that water would leak out, although most assuredly it would. It's also that the sheer weight of that many gallons of water could not be supported by the structure that is there today.
Yeah, there's no, the concrete underneath the bottom layer of rebar is missing to stop that downward deflection.
Very good, thank you. Now, if there's some insight you could give us into the long-term plan for the rink.
So in the 2024 facility assessments that we did on what is now Whitecap Resources Center and Tom's Andy Sports Arena, we do have a functional current day to 10-year infrastructure improvements and renovations to do there. So we've identified some structural things that need to change, some building envelope, some mechanical, plumbing, that sort of thing that we need to upgrade and be expecting there. And we have those budgeted out over the next 10 years. In that survey, it did go on to say that, hey, in 10 years, we should be definitely looking into what is the next steps for the facility. But, I mean, overall, the facility is in fair to good condition, and with the proper amount of money reinvested into it, it should last for the foreseeable future.
Okay.
How many years, I can't commit to that.
Sometimes the facilities don't get the memo on how long they're supposed to last.
Yeah.
That happens. Councillor Higgs, you had your hand up.
Yeah, and I think we're going to get to the finance piece.
We are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so maybe, I had a question around grants, but maybe I'll leave it till the finance piece.
No, I think throw them out there now.
So there was some conversation in your proposal that you brought forward about I think 3 different types of grants that were maybe available. None of them are for sure, and we don't know how much any one of them would be. Is that correct? I don't know who I'm looking at here, but.
I'll let Matthew pitch this one. He's.
All right.
Yeah, Councillor Higgs, of the grants that were provided on the screen, one is a conditional grant, so actually we receive it every year. So we received $707,000 from the Canadian Saskatchewan Building Fund. Right now we use that for infrastructure revitalization program. So that's for paving our roads. That could be a fund that you revert back. We recommend as administration that you continue to use that for your roads. The second one that was on the presentation was ICIP. So the province of Saskatchewan has a partnership agreement with the federal government for that program. The funds are currently spent, but there was a lobbying effort done by the province, including a number of mayors from the province, to ask to have that program brought back. So the province of Saskatchewan has identified that they will fund their portion for that. Within the most recent federal budget, it includes information about community centers or recreation centers through a $6.1 billion fund. There's no information behind that. So is that the ICIP matching? Is that another infrastructure fund? We won't know that until all the stuff comes out from that grant. So to answer that, there's a hope that that grant is available, and it's really beneficial that the province has said they will fund that. So when they did go to talk to the federal government, they actually used our facilities, one of the facilities they talked about as a recreation project that way. In regards to the last grant that was included in this presentation, it's kind of a green focus grant. It could be used for planning. It could be used for anything within preparations for that project. Would it be a project that we would apply for? Yes. I always don't know what kind of green options we have within that until we go into applying process for that. So long story short, you have one that you do have currently eligible, but you have it funded towards something else. 2, you have a fund that the province has done a really big commitment towards. We just need the federal government to say yes towards that as well. And we've used that ICIP program. We actually use that for the Credit Union Spark Center. And the last one is a kind of a green initiative. So does that provide some assistance that way?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the hope, the odds are that we would get something. I'd also would just like to go on the record that Regina received both federal and provincial money. So I would use that as a lobbying effort myself. So thank you.
If I could just build on that, Councillor Higgs, I did get word from Minister Schmalz. The Saskatchewan Minister of Government Relations, Minister Schmalz, did confirm that he spoke specifically to Weyburn's need for an indoor pool in Ottawa to his counterpart there. So our project is certainly on the map or the radar, but no guarantees whatsoever. Councillor Sedlowski, sorry.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
I've had lots of questions leading into it. If there is consideration, if it is a new build, if there was consideration in adding it onto the Spark Center. Can you speak to that, Richard?
We didn't look specifically at that. Again, what we were looking at was just kind of high-level concepts. There would be additional costs to add it on to the Spark Center because we didn't look at a skyway bridge or anything to that nature, but We do have a lot of real estate and a lot of land there. We advance out into the green space behind of the existing pool or into the play structure area out behind. So it'll definitely still be in the vicinity of the Spark Center.
Councillor Morris.
Thank you. Richard, you may not have the answer to this question either, but mine's around staffing. It would be great to have 2 tanks operational at all times, but do you think we can get the staff, and can we afford to have that staff, the additional staff that we would need?
Well, in the operational cost that we presented, there is to having 2 tanks. That is, an increase of upwards of $770,000 in extra operational costs over and above what you see today. That's not just for staff, that also includes pool chemicals and heat and things like that, but there is a fairly substantial impact to having that second basin. As far as getting the staff, that we are working from kind of ground zero on that. We would have to do some heavy recruiting and then some retention plans. I don't think it's unachievable, but it will be a challenge to get started. I will add to that, there will be the benefit to having an indoor pool along with an outdoor pool is it's easier to retain your lifeguard staff, and it's easier to train them in-house to become lifeguards. So we'd have a larger pool within our own home base, what we can draw upon come the seasonal time, so.
Thanks. Councillor Corrigan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Question is, in all 4 of the options, everything is included in those, the change rooms, the hot tub, sauna, steam room, all those amenities are included within the cost of those 4 options, correct?
Yes.
What percentage of the cost is associated to all those items?
I don't have that breakdown in front of me.
Sorry, a tough question. I know to break all this down, but I'm just curious as to, when we're looking at this down the road, and making decisions on what we have, what we don't have, I mean, that's going to be part of our decision-making process as to what we can afford then.
Yeah, so when we were doing the concept plans, we stayed with all of the amenities that the user groups and the respondents to the online survey had said were important to them. So that was the sauna, the hot tub, the cold plunge, water slide, viewing areas, larger change rooms.
Yeah.
So we stuck with that throughout. So we had kind of a baseline to go forward with. What I don't have the magic 8 ball to give you a different number on the cost of peeling each one away, but anytime you have a tank with a separate water temperature in it, you have extra automation and heat exchangers and things like that. So that's extra mechanical equipment, extra pumps, extra chemical feeders, that sort of thing. So if you strip away everything and just have a pool with water in it, just one basin with water, it's going to be a reduced cost. But
exactly.
But then,
I was just curious if you had any sort of concept as to what it might be, because obviously if we don't go with all the bells and whistles, the cost associated to the build is going to be somewhat less anyway. The other question that I would have, and I guess, is that, am I correct in saying that we have an outdoor pool with a lifespan that would be significantly longer than our rink at this point in time? Do you think?
that's a loaded question.
Would it be safe to assume that?
The outdoor pool is 15 years old, and the current Whitecap Resources rink is built in the 60s and 1980 for Tom Zandy.
I mean,
so I would say,
yeah. I mean, we're looking at probably replacement of that facility sooner than the outdoor pool.
I think that's
safe to say.
A safe assumption.
Yeah, safe assumption. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Who's next? There's still more questions to be asked, I'm sure. Councillor Janke. Apologies, Richard, I don't have a question for you, but I will throw out to the rest of council. I don't have a crystal ball on where this debate is going, but I do think we can probably cross option 4 off the list, at least tentatively for this debate. and probably, I think, option 1 as well, leaving us with the 2 options in the middle and the possibility of Councillor Corrigan's combined discussion. Does everyone agree with that?
Sorry, what was the last part?
That the only options really viable for us right now are option 2, option 3, or continued discussion on the possibility of a shared use facility. Simply because I don't want to take that away since it was brought up by 2 other councillors.
Let's just go around the table. We'll start with Councillor Bedore. We'll come around.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Yeah.
Councillor Higgs.
I think at the end of the day, if we're going to pass the, if we're going to give direction to administration, we're going to have to pick a number, tell them whether we're renovating or we're building, and they have to meet that. I don't think we can, sadly, I don't think now is the time to go back to the drawing board, as it were, to maybe start to plan that. 15 years ago, that would have been a great plan. We didn't do it. So I don't think we can do it.
If I may, I agree completely. I'm kind of building towards the motion, so.
Councillor Corrigan, do you kind of on side with what Councillor Jenkins pitched?
I agree that those are the 3 options, but I do disagree with Councillor Higgs that this is the time to have that discussion about a joint facility, not 5 or 10 years down the road.
Okay. Councillor Morissette.
Thank you. I also agree with Councillor Janke, 2 or 3, but if we are going to do something, we're going to do it correctly, and we're going to make sure that this is going to last us for the time the investment is going to take to pay off.
Yeah, I would agree either option 2 or 3. I find it a little difficult to know that we don't have concrete answers for whether a renovation is possible or not. But I would also agree with Councillor Corrigan. I do think this is the time to look at something larger and plan down the road, in my opinion.
Thanks for that. I just want to seek clarity on one of Councillor Sadlowski's points. Can you say one more time, you're unsure or uncomfortable, I think you said, with the uncertainty of whether or not we can do a renovation?
Just, I think it was back to Councillor Janke's question earlier when we asked about whether, what it will look like on the renovation and what's salvageable in the current building. There seem to be a lot of unknowns, and that makes me a little uncomfortable with knowing what something like that would cost.
Fair enough. Thank you. So I just want to summarize some of the thoughts here. Sounds like we've got a couple of or some direction to say probably it's going to be 2 or 3. We've spent about, and I'm not great with remembering the numbers now because I've heard so many. We've spent somewhere in the neighborhood of $50,000 on consulting fees to get us to this point, and it's taken quite a while. I think, is that fair to say, with RC and others?
Yeah, for RC strategies, we're in around that neighborhood, and then with Stantec before that and ground penetrating radar is probably another $30,000. Okay. Could be off a little bit there.
Right. So what we have before us does not include the option for rink as a part of it. So that would, I'm just going to throw out language that I know is lazy. That would set this project back. I've heard Councillor Bedore say that he's heard from the public, enough. Get on with your pool project. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if that's a fair way to articulate what you've said. If we were to, if council was to say, no, do you know what? I think let's pump the brakes and let's make a consideration for a bigger project, this superstructure, whatever you want to call it. It's a rink and a swimming pool and whatever, and a cold plunge probably too, I suspect. That is going to set these timelines back 6 months to a year. Is that, and Richard, you have no idea. I get that. But is that a fair thing to say? 6 months to a year, it would set us back?
Yes, it's going to set you back 6 months minimum.
Minimum.
And that would depend if you want to go out for public survey on what a joint use facility would look like.
Yeah.
And if we have to investigate where we can put said facility as well, procure land or secure that.
Very good. Thank you for that. Then the final thing, and then I think we can do more questions. I hope we do more questions. The final thing I would say is we were hand-wringing quite a lot, and we should be, by the way, $150 a year, if that's the number, levy on every home to be a recreation levy. we were hand-wringing on that and how we were going to pay for potentially a $30 million facility. If we were to look at then a joint use facility, that might be 100 million, and we're just making up numbers as we go here. I don't think that we could go to the public and say, well, now we're going to need a $750 a year levy because we've tripled yada, yada, yada. So, because at the end of the day, the existing, or the new pool we build, even if we build it attached to a rink, is still going to expire in the same amount of time. It's not going to last longer because we've attached it to a rink, I think is. So I'm just trying to summarize, because I really want us to be able to provide you with some clear direction tonight before you go home. Hopefully you get home tonight and it's not Tuesday when you get to go home. But I want to make sure we have a very robust conversation tonight. So lay those sort of thoughts out if I could, and then back around and I see Councillor Higgs with his finger on the button, so we'll start there.
Well, and I guess you sort of said what I was thinking was that, I mean, let me be clear. It's not that I'm against the idea of it. Yeah. I just simply do not think we can afford it. At the end of the day, it's a, how are we going to do it? We can barely do this one. And I know that in 10 years we're going to have to do the next one. But hopefully we get some gas in between there and then.
Fair enough. Councillor Sedlowski?
I think to that point, Councillor Higgs, you look at some of the other municipalities that do these multi-sports plex, and maybe their phased approaches, a lot of them have funding from the provincial and federal government, from local sponsorships, as well as levies. So I think that, yes, it's a much larger number, but I think that there's still discussion to be had from it, and I wouldn't say it's a straightaway no just because we don't have the money. We're going to have to build the rink eventually anyways, and costs only rise in what we've seen over the last while, so.
Yeah, fair enough. Councillor Bador?
I agree in principle. I'm wanting to move forward with a pool, but I think if we are short-sighted if we don't think in 10 years, because our job is to think 5 to 10 to 15 years. So as soon as the first shovel goes in the ground, we need to be thinking about a rink, about this pool. We need to be thinking about, we probably should have been thinking about it maybe 5 years ago, but right now, I think we get this facility, and I don't know what the costs around that look like to say, hey, what happens if we were to add this? Like we have the super center of that, and if that's the flavor of this council, but I think we're short-sighted if we don't think about the rink. Tomorrow we're going to put the shovel in, but today's project is a pool, and I want to focus on that, but also with the look forward of what a rink looks like in that space or near that space.
Sorry, to be clear, in the Jubilee Park space, is that what you meant by that?
Could be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next, Councillor Morissette.
Thank you, Worship. This is more for administration. This is just to give discussion or to direction tonight. So what could we get for $32 million? It's not set in stone. So if we go out tomorrow and the public says, hey, that's way too much money, we can still come back to the drawing board. This is not concrete, be all end all, correct?
So I'll answer that. So if you guys give us a direction on one of the options, we'll go forward and look at that option. If you guys give us a direction on a dollar amount, we can go and look at that option, right? And this has been said a few times by councillors that prices are escalating, and what you put in that facility, you can change based on what you want to do as well, because those costs may change. So we're joking about a cold plunge, right? And that comes out to a certain cost. You have to look at that and say you want to look at that, or a hot tub, or a whatever, right? But there has to be pure amenities that you guys would want as a municipality that we'd have to look at. The survey provided a lot of information from our user groups and from the public of what they want to see, right? We heard things like viewing areas. We talked about, a sport and recreational purpose to the facility. So to answer your question, really for us, it's the direction where you guys want us to go with that project. And really, as you go through the planning stages, things change as you talk through. And we always talk about what's happening right now in Regina. Regina has a very massive aquatic center that they're looking at right now. They haven't even put their shovel in the ground. Their number keeps on changing a lot, and I know right now they're looking at their program spaces as well, right? So once you start going through the engineering process, you start to understand a little bit more about that. You do your Class D estimates to find out what you think it's going to be, and it goes back to Councillor Corrigan's question, how much would a change room cost? Well, actually, Class D will actually tell you those things. They'll tell you exactly how much a cold plunge will cost, and how much a hot tub will cost, and how much a basin will cost. They'll tell you all those costs as you go through. Class D is plus or minus 30%, right? That's always a scary part. But at least you have a direction what you're going through. But the surveys and the means of the user groups were hugely beneficial. They're hugely beneficial by telling what they want to see. What they want to see in that, and that was loudly heard from what I read and what I think what council read that way.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, Councillor Corrigan, just to expand on that, I think what they want to see versus the concrete numbers that are behind what they want to see is what I'm concerned about. You know, they may want to see a large viewing area and multiple tanks, but once they see how much that costs, that actually is physically going to cost them, you know, they can still come back to us and say, maybe just hold off on that.
Yeah, going back to that, Councillor Morris said, we did the same thing for the Spark Center, right? And that's why I keep on going back to Class C or Class D estimates, because it kind of gives you that view. Right, and in that project, council provided a mandate to administration to spend a certain dollar amount. They didn't tell us exactly. They said what we want to see, but there was some wiggle room of what you can do. So sometimes you have to look at your billing envelope, what you change for that. Sometimes you don't want to change some things, but you have to look at some amenities as you go through to make sure that works. But that's usually the easiest way to look at that moving forward that way. But again, price will fluctuate like crazy. We don't know what's happening for the tariffs. We don't know what's happening in the economy right now, those kind of things, available contractors. That's why when you have your engineers, your structural engineers, your mechanical, all those different people involved, they can help you through that process. End of the day, you have to look at what amenities you want to provide as basic amenities. Sometimes some other things are wants, not needs. That way.
All right, Councillor Corrigan.
Thank you, Worship. Where was I going to go? So many places. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am fully in favor of an indoor pool. I think it's something that our community needs. It's just a question of whether we can afford it. And I mean, I want to go forward with something here and give administration the direction of an option. I don't think we can forget about everything else, though. I think we should continue, I think we should start looking at a potential add-on rink to this thing, like right now. And maybe it's something we can change directions with in 6 months, who knows? But let's not just make a decision on this one thing and put our blinders on and say that's it. Because we have to, as mentioned earlier, we have to continue to look 5, 10, 15 years down the road what our community needs. And with that said, I'm wondering if we don't use the existing structure of where the pool is, what are we going to do with it? What can we do with it? What can we create there? Or do we just tear it down? Same with if we build a new rink, what do we do with the existing envelope where Whitecap is? I mean, just thinking outside the box, can we put a pool in that? I don't know. I don't know these answers, but I think to give some direction right now is important because I'm hearing things around town too. I mean, everybody does. You know, we want this, we want that, but until a dollar amount is put on it, and as I've said to some people, wait until you see the dollar amount and see whether you really want that or not. And I think when people see a dollar amount, that can change a lot of people's minds about how much this thing is going to cost and how we're going to pay for it. So there's still a lot of decisions to be made, but we still have to move forward with some direction, and I totally agree with that. So
not necessarily to Whitecap Resources Center and what could be done with that if vacated, but I believe the Director of Leisure Services can speak to what is possible with the existing indoor pool space should it be abandoned, because I think that is in some of the documentation I've read. No? Am I misreading that?
No, we understood from council that there is an appetite for some other facility, other facility uses. So you've got a pretty large structure there. So if it is not demolished, there is potential for it to be renovated. It's kind of how we worded that. We didn't look into other facilities.
Right.
But, or
Yeah.
other types of facilities, but you jackhammer out the pool basin and start afresh doing a renovation.
Right. Yeah. Good. All right, Councillor Hanks. By the way, I know that we have, everybody is to speak to something only 2 times, but if I understand correctly, the chair, the mayor can allow them to speak additional times, and I'm allowing that tonight. We might, so go ahead, Councillor Hanks. I think you're at 5.
I'm over my
You're
limit.
at 5,
I'm
but it's
over my
fine.
limit.
No, please keep going. I just only meant that so that everybody understood.
No, fair. And I think to Councillor Sadlowski's idea of a staged concept, you know, sort of piggybacking off of what Councillor Bador said, yeah, I mean, I guess that there is an option if you went forward tonight and said we're going to give X number of millions of dollars, that if that design comes with an ability to have access for a rink development in the future. You're not saying that you would necessarily build the entire project today. So, I mean, I guess there again, I don't know the numbers, and I'm not sure where the savings comes in other than it becomes a more usable space. I don't know where the savings comes in the actual production of the facility, that's all.
Yeah, fair enough. Who's next? Councillor Sadlowski. You're at 5 also. No, I'm not even keeping score.
Yeah, I just hear time and time again from families that I talk to. I mean, they'll go down to Estevan, they go to a hockey tournament, and the siblings can go swim. They're all in the same building, and how nice it is to have that. So less kind of on a cost savings view, more on a, maybe it would increase the usage of it, having them attached together. Maybe it would bring other families in. I mean, you see the Spark Center when we have our big soccer tournament, and the climbing place is the most full you've ever seen it. They all pay for their siblings to climb. So I think that there's benefits that way, not necessarily on the cost savings.
Just to keep the conversation going, I will ask Richard again, and we're going back to first names now because we're going to be too long.
That's good.
You had spoke one time about, I think the question came from a councillor, I think. What if we said to you, go and investigate options 2 and 4, since you're investigating anyways? There is a significant cost increase to that. Is that right? Am I understanding that correctly? If we were to send you out with 2 options, go
Yes.
and get all of the next steps for both options.
Yes, indeed. So if we were to go to the next step, engage an architect, go down the step of going to detailed design, where we get you down to, you know, a design where we know our probable costs with more accuracy, and we're going out with contract document out to RFP process, you're going to be about 10% of the capital cost for each one of those options. So if we're looking at a $30 million option and a $45 million option, you're at roughly 10% of each of those. So you're essentially, to get to that stage of that level of investigation, you're kind of doubling your costs.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, Councillor Janke.
Not that we're keeping score, but I believe I've only spoken twice.
You're doing, yeah, you're right.
All right. With your permission, I think we're at a point here where I would rescind my motion to discuss this and then make a motion for one of the 3 options that we could then debate that and kick that around for a while.
Very good.
Very well, then, Your Worship, I would like to rescind my previous motion. Defer to the clerk on this, but I think I need the seconder to also. All right.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
No, it's got to be Laura, I think.
Sorry.
I will second it.
Yes. Do we vote on that?
No, you can just declare it
That
rescinded.
Declared rescinded.
All right, then. I move that we give direction to administration to investigate option 2, a new facility construction with 1 tank, with the understanding, forgive me for framing my own motion, but that if we wanted to go with option 3 or consider a different rink-based approach, we would just defeat this and then discuss that.
Very good. And a seconder?
I will second that, Your Worship.
All right. Let's open discussion on that motion then. So the motion is basically to send the Director of Leisure Services forward with option 2 in his briefcase. Councillor Janke.
Thank you, Your Worship. Having considered all the discussions here tonight, plus what Richard has put in front of us and the data we received from the community, it seems to me that the idea of proceeding with the rink, while important, is probably not on the table for us tonight. Not that I'm going to try and quash debate on that, that's just my opinion. Further to that, I think option 4 is just completely cost prohibitive at $45 million and change. I don't think option 1 is viable because it involves reusing the building that we cannot necessarily, I know Richard has done everything he can to reassure me, guarantee is going to give us the life we want. That same problem goes to option 3. And what I heard from the community is that what we had before the pool collapse was largely sufficient. The biggest concern were things like viewing areas, proximity of the hot or the paddling pool to the deep end of the other pool, and the fact that it wasn't quite competitive length and or depth, all of which would be dealt with by option 2. So while I think that option 4 is a better option if we had all the money in the world and building a shared use arena is the ideal option, I think given the fiscal reality we're facing, option 2 is the one that has my most support. Thank you.
Next, Councillor Higgs.
If we're starting over.
I heard our pool's not working.
I somewhat struggle with the motion on the floor in that I'd like to determine how we're going to pay for it first, whether we're going to put levies, tax increases, whatever that looks like. That's just a personal comment, I guess.
As a matter of procedure, we will have to spend some money to go forward, but in terms of payment, how would this, walk me through the City of Weyburn spending money in the next 12 months on this project, if you could.
So, I guess I can speak to that. So our next steps are going to be to secure an architect, and that architect, there's different models that we can work with the architect to come up with this design that have different levels of risk for the city and for the contractors and things like that. Some of these buzzwords or delivery methods out there, the design bid build, progressive design build, construction management, and integrated project delivery. Those are kind of the main 5 that people are going with. Design build isn't recommended for a facility of this complexity. It puts a lot of, there's a lot more risk for the city on that of not getting the product that you're going after. And the one that, the flavor that we've been talking about more is the integrated project delivery, where we work hand in hand with the architects and the engineering firms and the potential construction firm, kind of work through the entire process together, so that as we're going through the pre-design and the schematic design, the design development, the construction documents, when we're talking about taking out a cold plunge and making a hot tub bigger, we have all the right people at the table to do that. And we're all working as one kind of joint group. So over the course of that year, however long that process takes, that's going to cost the city about 10% of that capital project.
Right. So a few $1 million.
Yes.
That's helpful for some insight.
Yeah, and I guess that's a non-budgetary item currently.
Yeah.
So even, yeah, okay.
Yep. Yep. Anybody else want to, city manager?
Well, I can speak to that more. You would have to get external loan to pay for that. Levy would not pay for that cost whatsoever. So you would have to get an external loan if you guys would want that to occur for that initial cost.
Councillor Janke.
Just further to that, Matthew, would that mean that if the, sort of put a subject to financing on this, if it was determined that it wasn't viable, we could simply quash the motion to get the external loan at that point and then be back to the drawing board then?
Yes.
So it's fair to say that we're not necessarily committing to spending the money, we're just giving the direction with this motion right now?
Correct.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification. That's helpful. Councillor Bador? Sorry, John.
Yeah, I just, as much as I'm in favor of option 3, and the reason why I am, if renovation of the current envelope wasn't an option, then it shouldn't have been here, so I think it is an option, and it might be using, just the 2x4s, for example, but I just think for, nominal $2 million, which is not nominal, you get a bigger, better facility that we went out to the public, and the swimming lessons were an issue. All these things were an issue, and for a nominal $2 million, when you're talking 30, I don't think it's a bad option.
Fair comments. Anybody else? If not, I'm going to call the question. Oh, sorry, John. Sorry, Councillor Corrigan. You reached out and I forgot. I'm sorry. My bad.
I'm wearing green.
I know. That's the thing.
I would speak in favor of option 2. Because I'm a little concerned about what we might run into putting this sort of construct in the existing facility and getting halfway into it and then finding out, uh-oh, we can't do this. And then adding substantial costs to the project somewhere down the road. What I am in favor of, though, is continuing to explore what we can do with that, because I don't think we should ignore it. If we're going with option 2, we have to consider moving forward at the same time with renovating the existing structure to some sort of usable facility, whether it's a gym facility or whatever it might be, but adding that to, what we have within the community. I know that there isn't the appetite with council right now for the rink, but I believe we've planted the seed for that, and we can't ignore the fact that we have to move forward with some sort of planning down the road for that facility.
Thank you. Councillor Sedlowski?
Director Henning, my understanding was that the 2 new facility options had included costs for the demolition of the previous structure. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So if we were to keep it and renovate it into a different space, is there an option to put a new facility elsewhere in the city, or would it be in that same area right now?
So if I understand you correct, if we go with a new facility, option 2 build, a new facility,
Yep.
it does not have to go where the existing facility is. There's still lots of property around the existing pool, the existing outdoor pool, where we could construct a new facility on your direction. And then the cost of the demolition that we have in the budget could be used for a renovation of the existing facility to go towards it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. I just want to, if I could jump in, because I didn't understand this until I spoke with somebody earlier as well. When you're saying demolishing the building, you are talking only about from the sunroom south, not the entire facility, just the part that the pool itself is in.
That's correct.
That's an important distinction.
Yes.
Right.
That is correct. That would be from the janitor room beside the family change room all the way through the indoor pool, which is all the Harry Church Indoor Aquatic.
Yeah, good. Thanks for that clarity. Councillor Higgs, and then.
Fair to say, though, if you moved it very far, then the operational costs that you put forward are out to lunch, because you've got 2 sets of pumps. You're using a set for summertime and a set for wintertime, and is that not reasonable?
No, currently right now there is separate pumps for the indoor pool and separate pumps for the outdoor pool. We do share some of the chemical injection facilities, so there would be additional costs for that if we were to have them both completely separated and off-site from each other. There just is a lot of shared equipment that we use from indoor facility, outdoor facility.
Okay.
So a lot of just the stuff the lifeguards use and the kids use in the pool, then that would have to be either duplicated or we'd have to find some sort of storage containers to get them hauled around and moved.
Councillor Bador?
I just challenge the notion in general to not want to use an old facility, but then use an old facility and renovate it to something else. That's where I'm challenged right now. If we don't want to use, if we're not confident in an old facility, we want to renovate it and turn it into something else, I'm challenged by that, to spend any extra money to do that.
Okay. Councillor Sedlowski?
Director Hennigan, is there concerns with the ground in the existing pool? Like if, I guess my question is kind of thinking towards what Councillor Bador just said. If we were, is there an option to have a renovation and expansion of option number 3, but if there is concerns where the current basin is, could we renovate and change that into a gymnasium or something and then build off another area?
So there's no indication visually without doing like destructive testing of some sort or core samples. I can't tell you indefinitely any answers, plus I'm not a structural engineer. So what we do know is the concrete basin of the pool and the deck and the hot tub, which isn't the actual floor, like that's in a crawl space. So that structure itself is degraded and structurally not sound, but that is not connected to the actual exterior building envelope.
Okay. Councillor Higgs?
I guess just further to what option I would be in favor of, I'm in favor of renovating, so option 3, and mainly for the very reason that Councillor Bador just said. If we truly believe that the structure's good enough to do that, then we should be able to renovate. And when it comes to heaven forbid, we get into a situation where we give a number and a year down the road, we're having to say, well, we can't have this or we can't have that. It's a lot easier to do it inside of a building you've already got than it is to actually start to cut on the building itself. We've got a building at 5th Avenue North that'll tell you that same story.
Okay, I'm going to take one more round and then we're going to vote on this motion.
I'll just say this regarding option 3, and the main reason that I'm against it is that I don't think we can afford the operational costs, and I don't think we can staff it.
Very good. Okay, I'd like to, do you want to comment one last time?
Oh, only that I agree completely with Councillor Corrigan about the operational concerns about option 3. I do agree that if council is confident that the building is renovatable, then option 3 might make more sense. I personally am not confident in that, but I know far less than Richard. I'm certainly not a structural engineer, so. But yeah, I wouldn't support amending this up to option 3 just because I don't have the confidence. That said, if that's what council feels, that's probably what we should do, so at least we can go back to the original motion as opposed to having to defeat both and have to come back next week on this.
So, no, I think we should vote on that motion. So if everybody's okay, I'm going to call the question. The motion was to instruct administration to go forth on option 2, which is a new facility construction, 1 tank, estimate 30 million and change. If you say it fast enough, it doesn't sound too bad. Okay? Oh.
Just for clarification, Your Worship, option 2 includes the demolition of the existing building.
In the $30 million?
Yes.
There's 1 point something million
Yeah.
to cover cost of demolition, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if we want to leave that in or to remove that from the motion.
If I may, Councillor Corrigan, I would suggest that given we have the word investigate in there, we're certainly not committing to demolishing the building right now.
Okay. Call the question. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? 1, 2, 3. And it is carried. You have your direction.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Final comments?
How are we going to pay for it?
Well, that's up next. It's only 7:45. Okay, we will go on to, I just want to get the number, 7E, which is a recreation facility tax levy. We'll turn that to the Director of Finance.
Okay, so with the ongoing plans of the indoor pool, the City of Weyburn must look at other areas of funding. The development of a recreation facility is an option. So I've listed out what some other cities have done. You can see that Melville, they have a residential recreation levy of $202. They have a levy on their commercial for $166. North Battleford has a levy on their residential and their condos of $189. Warman has a levy for future capital for recreation of $75. And I believe actually this is from 2024. In 2025, they increased that to $150. Yorkton, they have a residential rec levy of $100 on the residences and condos, and on multi-unit it's $85. And Swift Current has put in $140 per property. So we've looked into some options. A levy of $150 or $200 per year or per property, or you could do it per door, and that's what was done with the hospital levy. It was per door, so that included multi-units. And we collected $140 per door from 2013 to 2021, and we collected $6 million. It was approximately $600,000 per year that we collected. So per door, yeah, so per door was applied so that every household, I guess, would be charged the levy, and that's why that was chosen back in 2013. The interest that we would receive, if any, would be applied towards the investment in the rec facility. So we'd be looking at maybe we could collect about 3.2% on interest, but that would also could range up between 3 to 6%. So a recreation facility levy could be established to finance the capital costs, including the maintenance, renovation, expansion, or establish to have a new rec levy or a new rec facility. The funds raised would be used to fund the capital expenditure relating to the facility. So, and it could also pay any associated principal and interest costs that we would have to get on borrowed money. So I've listed out here, currently in residential, we have 3,471 properties. So per door at $150 would be $520,000. $200 per door is just under $700,000. If we include condos in that, we could, at 150, it would be just under $117,000, and 200 would be $155,000. Multifamily, we have 65 properties. It's 636 doors. So we would collect just under $100,000 for $150 per door. $200 per door, it would be $127,000. And then if we put commercial in there, so we have 362 commercial properties. So we could collect between $54,000 and $72,000. Accommodations, there's 9 properties. The mall, there's the one mall, obviously. Agriculture, there's 5 properties. The elevator, we have 1. Railway, 4. Personal care homes, there's 5. The trailer, we have 3 trailer courts. And then we could also, we did apply the hospital levy on the grant and lieu properties that we receive funding for. So those, it could range between $47,000 to $63,000 from the Housing Authority, and the federal and provincial are lower. So in conclusion, if we put $150 per door, it would be approximately $809,000. If we put $200 per door, it's just over $1 million. And if we put it on all properties, $150, it could be $872,000, and $200 on all properties would be $1.16 million. So those are just some options. These have not been included in the current budget, so these would be an increase to what we currently have in our budget proposed.
So just to be clear, before I ask for a motion, what you're putting forth here Director Massal, is that you would want maybe to go back and develop a bylaw to address this.
It would have to be included with